to just share a little bit about my journey with the first year of my career and what I did with my money and what I believed before I started making big money and what I believe now that I've made substantial money. Not huge, but um, within the first 4 months of me getting my first degree out of college, I made not extraordinary amount of money, but a good enough amount of money, and I was careful with it. I saved. I, I, I was very inexpensive with how I spent it. I invested a substantial amount in the stock market, and I started buying real estate. So within, let's see, I got hired about the beginning of September one year. By January 4th, I had closed on a duplex, and by January 28th, I was closing on a triplex. So I was going to have 5 units of rental property within like 4 or 5 months of having a job. I'd also put $20,000 to $30,000 worth in the stock market. I did that after the rental properties. I gained like about 14.5% in a month um, in the stock market. And I won't tell you the exact numbers just because it doesn't matter, but the point was I'm very mathematically minded. My job actually doesn't use math the way that I really enjoy and that really gives me fulfillment. And I found this avenue for doing so in finances and in stocks and in real estate. Real estate being what I think is probably the best, most surefire way of increasing wealth. My duplex, I was going to live in the top unit, and the bottom unit covered the mortgage of the top unit and like a little bit more, like maybe enough for the electric bill or something like that. And the triplex was going to make, I think the cap rate was like 40 something percent. I got a super good deal on it, bought about 30 to 40% below market value, got a low down payment loan. I did my due diligence. I learned how to do it, and I got really good at it. I also got approved for a third loan the same month I was closing on two properties. So if I had have found a house in January, I could have actually bought another house, and I was actually planning on changing and moving into that house and then renting both units of the duplex. So I had I had things down pretty good, I guess financially, but um, I lost. I think I lost just as much as I would have gained if I had have completed all those deals. I did complete the duplex deal, and I am currently going to buy a house for myself. Um, so I will, and the duplex will pay its own mortgage and the mortgage of the new house. So I'll essentially have no real payments, and I'll be making equity in two houses, and that'll be very nice. But I think that's enough for me, because before I started making money, I had told myself if I could just make an average salary, 50, 60,000 a year, I'd be totally content as long as I could pay my bills and do the things that I wanted to do, because money was a tool in order to be the healthiest I could possibly be and to be the person I wanted to be. And when I got into this sort of mindset of money being almost like a game, almost being like an optimization, the point was to make the most money. And it only took me a couple months to sort of transition into that attitude. I lost what money was for, and money became more of a something I worked for rather than something that served me. And the whole point of money and of wealth and of having power, we would say, is so that you can do what you want. Because if your sole goal is to make the most money, you are working for money. And there's so many ways now in our day and time, through YouTube, through tech, through software, through people buying GameStop, when it's being squeezed like that kids like 20, 30 years old can multiply their money times 10, times 15, times 20, and get way more wealth than they know what to do with. And I think that can corrupt a lot of people. That can do wonders for a lot of people who use it right. But I see, and I sort of got caught up with this fad of community on YouTube and on different forums on the internet about optimizing money and being the cheapest so you can make the most money and having the highest net worth. And a net worth that you have to work for is not good at all. The point rather should be optimizing our lives, optimizing our day-to-day routine. You should make your day do exactly what you want to do that day, regardless of how much it makes you. And of course, if it makes you no money and you can't live on that, then you have to adjust something and you're not living your optimum life. But your optimum life would be to do everything that you want to do in the way that you want to do it in the time frame that you want to do it. And I calculated that for myself. I said, what do I live on now? If I had everything I could dream of, and I put, in my case, what I felt were some lofty dreams down. I said, how much would I have to make over a 30-year career that I could save some, and I assumed a 10% return in the stock market, and enough to retire for 30 years, and enough during that 30 years to have everything I could even imagine. And I think it was actually, it's kind of high, but it was like $106,000, $110,000. I could literally get everything I ever could imagine. And that's when I decided I didn't need more and more and more rental properties, because they're essentially work. Real estate investing is not passive investing at all. It's a job. Even if you hire a property manager, it's a job. You have you your property manager works for you, but you are a boss that has to oversee that they're doing their job, and you have to fix the problems. And it's not the same type of work as like having to go in for 8 hours a day, but it's not the stock market, not at all. And that's why it does better than the stock market. But even in the stock market, doing all this research and trying to hit these massive gains, it's like, what is the point? If it adds joy to your life and exhilaration and you're learning, real estate when I first started was something that had a very high learning curve, and that's what made it fulfilling to me. And I didn't even care if I made money, and it was the fact that it was new and it was right up my alley of what I enjoyed, made it worth it and made it enjoyable. But very soon after I actually got into it, did I change my tune, because I realized I could do it. And sometimes once you master a topic, once you master, and I'm not saying I'm a master by any sense. I have like 2 rental properties. But once you show the ability that you can do something, the appeal and the learning curve, and sometimes what fulfills you in that is gone. And I think that was the case for me with real estate. Very soon, and not with real estate, with finances in general. I was like, I'm going to focus on living the life I want to live. And if I need more money for that, I can find a way to get that money. And hopefully I can find a way that I will enjoy and that will fulfill me to make that money. But if not, it just depends on if being able to do that thing is more important than having to put in the work to get that. There's endless ways to make a living. There's endless ways to make a side extra dollar, and each one of them is work, and each one of them costs you something too. That's why you're getting paid for it. I just remember watching a YouTube video recently about one of Facebook's previous execs. It's Chamath, something like that. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. I liked a lot of what he said, but one of the things he said is that capital is power, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Capital covers weakness. Capital, money, it can make you do things on the surface that you couldn't do without it. That's true, and that's what he meant by it. But in a more philosophical way, capital is weakness, because it covers up addressing who you are and your needs and your pursuits, and makes you pursue things to get more money or to have more influence, when without the money you're not even interested in those things. Those interests arise because you're in the position to fulfill them. And I'm definitely not speaking to everyone. I think there are certain people, we'll say Elon Musk, who was at least for a little bit the richest man ever alive. It doesn't seem like money does anything to him. All he cares about is these projects and this growth of not only himself, but technologies that will further the world and further what he thinks like the human race needs in the future. Clearly money hasn't really changed him, but these people in Wall Street, or I mean even a retail market, we'll say like Amazon, like squeezes their profits and manipulates things all for the sole purpose of making more money. And they do great at it. And if you want more money, if your goal in life is to have a higher dollar value assigned to your name, this is absolutely the right way to go. But I don't think that is anyone's goal as a child. I don't think that's anyone's goal who hasn't already sort of fallen from where they need to be as far as self-awareness. And it's not my goal either. And that's why your time is valuable to you. And especially when you start having a family, when you have kids, when you have more interests, your time will be more and more valuable to you. And your willingness to do chores and jobs, and even if it's signing contracts, or even if it seems rather passive, your interest in doing those things dwindles when it adds no benefit to you other than the dollar value assigned to your bank account or to your stock account, or whatever it may be, your investment portfolio. Um, Once again, these things do not give us fulfillment. These things can suck us into not living the life that we would live if we were independent of an agenda to make money. And I think that's very important, and I think that it is very good to remember these things. That first and foremost comes our soul and our peace and our patience and our joy. These things, if money can add to that, and for a struggling person with not enough food on the table, it certainly can. But there comes a point when having more money demands more of us, and instead of being power, just simply becomes more responsibility, and not necessarily in the good sense that Uncle Ben was telling Peter Parker about. It becomes more responsibility in the sense that we have more to keep up with, when we can't even always keep up with our own lives and our own selves. So money is not necessarily power. Maybe money is resource. Yeah, that's for certain. But I think the most powerful don't need money. The influencers of our culture, of our society, and of humanity that we've known in the past, whether religious leaders, whether social leaders, whatever they may be, none of their contributions involved a stand they took monetarily. It was always who they were in the face of an issue that confronted everyone, that other people were not responding to correctly, that changed things, that had power and that had influence. And especially when someone on Wall Street or someone in a corporation claims to be using their power for good, the first instance anyone in the media sniffs of them actually doing it for a profit is the last instance that person will ever be looked at as virtuous. Um, Not to say that we need to be looked at as virtuous, but we need to find a greater purpose, because riches are truly a vanity that has overcome a lot of us, and it is very easy to overcome you, even if it's just for a small amount of time. And we should we should use riches, and there's nothing wrong with riches, but let's not be overtaken by them and controlled